Alright, Yellowjacket fans, buckle up because episodes 1 and 2 of season 3 just drop a whole new hive of mysteries on us. We're talking new rituals, shifting power dynamics, and some seriously creepy callbacks to season 1. If you thought things were messed up before, you ain't seen nothing yet. From that summer Solstice Festival with its twisted game of Capture the Bone to the present-day fallout of Natalie's death, these episodes are filled with WTF moments that have me writing a ton of theories. And don't even get me started on that scene with Callie. Is she following in her mother's footsteps, or is something even more darker here? I mean, she saw that envelope with the tape and the logo, so just maybe. So what does it all mean? Are the Yellowjackets repeating past mistakes? Is the wilderness influencing the next generation? And what in the world is Misty up to with that storage unit? We're breaking down everything from the new rituals to the characters changing roles. And let me tell you, this is just the beginning of a whole new level of Yellowjackets craziness. Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from the Premiere, and let's get buzzing.
Call the Jackie. Now with the wilderness.
Alright, let's discuss the Summer Solstice Festival because it's a way more than just a team building exercise. This is not your average high school sports event. First off, that name, Capture the Bone, sounds innocent, right? Wrong. Remember that scene from the pilot episode of season 1, the one with the pit girl? That haunt, that ritualistic killing. It's like we're seeing the early stages of that same darkness. So we all wanted to know what happened after the events of season 2 when the cabin was burned. And who did it? We all thought Coach did it, but maybe not. I mean, he had the matches, but he's saying that he didn't.
Seriously? It burnt for like weeks.
So we follow them in their new houses, and they even have food, which says a lot about everything that happened during those months. Now we know that this is not forever, as I imagine when cold happens again, everything is gonna go crazy. But yes, we're seeing the early stages of that event. We already have the pit, and now we're seeing the hunt. But here's what's really interesting. The way they're playing this game mirrors the power dynamics of the group. Nat and Ben are in charge, setting the rules, while Shauna and Mary are clearly at odds. And when that fight breaks out after Mary accused Shauna of spitting in her food, that's not just teen drama, I mean she did. That's just the wilderness pulling them further apart. And think about the timing too. This festival happens right after Coach Ben went missing. It's like the wilderness is saying, okay, you took away our adult supervision, now things are gonna get really wild. It's a twisted celebration, a way for the group to bond over their shared trauma and the dark choices they have made. Now, Nat putting Shauna and Mary on house arrest, that's pure leadership, but it's also control. She's trying to keep the peace, but it's like really trying to hold back at a tidal wave. The wilderness is not just about survival anymore. It's about power and who gets to control it. Like we see with Lottie and Travis, she's trying to control that power. So what do you all think about the summer festival? Are we seeing the beginning of something much darker? Because I got a feeling this Capture the Bone game is just the beginning of a whole new level of chaos for our Yellowjackets. This brings us to Coach Ben's journey after going away. Since he saw the events of Hobby, he discovers a secret spot where he was hiding, and this is also where he finds the pit, where later Mary drops. First off, the fact that there's food and supplies, that means someone was prepared. Someone knew how to survive, and they were not just roughing it out like our Yellowjackets. This is not just about finding shelter, it's about finding someone who might have been winning here. Maybe the same guy in the cabin, but now we're seeing how he was prepared. We can see how Coach Ben is going crazy. We see him talking to himself, which is something that we saw earlier on. When he was talking to his boyfriend, we can see that maybe he's talking to that spirit, maybe not. Now we can connect the dots and we can see how the crash plane we saw way back in season 1 is maybe connected to this pit and the stash, that maybe it belonged to the pilot. I mean, think about it. We have been assuming this wilderness is completely isolated, but what if someone else, as we know, was here, maybe even for years as they have to build a cabin? This pit could be their legacy, a hidden supply that's been untouched until now. Speaking of untouched, the fact that Coach Ben stumbles upon it right after his breakdown, right when he's at his lowest point, that's not a coincidence. It's like the wilderness is saying, hey, keep here, stay here. We're gonna take care of the girls. It's like offering him a choice: give in to despair or fight to survive. Let's shift gears and talk about present day timeline, because Natalie's death is casting a long shadow over our adult survivors. That memorial service scene is not just about grief, it's all about guilt, regret, and the enduring trauma of the wilderness. First off, notice how differently everyone is dealing with this, but it's Misty who really stands out. Her grief is like searching for something to fill the void Natalie left behind. Misty knows the darkness she's carried with her, both in the wilderness and in the present day. What I understood about that memorial service is not just about the grief of losing Natalie, it's also about the collective trauma this woman share. And speaking of what happened out there, let's not just forget about the storage unit Misty has. We see her in the space. I imagine all of this was a belongings to Natalie. The black leather jacket, it's like she's holding to the physical reminders of the friend she's lost. But these are not just mementos, they're symbols of her guilt. And hey, maybe I don't see it happening, but maybe by the end of the season, he may burn all of this, but that's just a theory. But think about it, Misty always been the one who's willing to do whatever it takes to survive, to protect her friends, even if it means crossing some lines. But this time her actions led directly to Natalie's death. That syringe was not meant for Natalie, and that's a burden Misty's going to carry forever. Even Lottie saying, hey, this is what the wilderness wants, which I find odd because, But this is something that caught my attention. This guilt, this responsibility is not new for Misty. Remember back in season 1 when she destroyed the plane's black box, she thought she was protecting the group, but that decision trapped them all in the wilderness. Misty always been caught between her desire to help and the devastating consequences of her actions. This whole memorial scene is a masterclass in showing, not telling. We're not just watching this woman grieve, we're seeing how the past continues to shape their present, how the wilderness still has a hold on them 25 years later, and based on what's coming, that hold is only gonna get tighter. But it's not the only thing in the present day that caught my attention. Let's talk about Callie, because this girl is giving me some serious Chana vibes, and it's both fascinating and terrifying. That scene where she gets suspended for attacking those girls with animal guts is not just teen rebellion, it's a direct echo of the wilderness rituals. Think about it. Callie grew up hearing whispers about her mom and what she did out there. She saw the darkness at Lottie's compound. She witnessed Natalie's death. Now she's acting out in a way that's both disturbing and strangely familiar. It's like she's internalizing the violence and chaos of the wilderness, even though she was not even there. But this is what I really love about the writing. Is this just Callie being a troubled teen or something bad? Maybe it's like the town seems to influence people, how it amplifies their darkest impulses. We have seen it in multiple people. Could Callie be falling under the same spell that affected her mother and the other Yellowjackets? And even that meeting between Misty, Lottie, and her. Let's not forget about when Lottie says the wilderness is pleased with them after Natalie's dead. It's like the town got its sacrifice, but what's next? And I feel it's reaching out to the next generation. I mean, it's an interesting thought. And speaking about Misty, let's just talk about her, because we're seeing how grief is affecting her, the isolation and they face even from each other. Now, first off, let's talk about Misty's actions. Showing up at the bar, trying to light someone on fire, that's not just unhinged, that's a cry for help. But it's also classic Misty. She's always been drawn to extreme actions, to pushing boundaries, and after everything that's happened, after losing Natalie, it's like she's out of control. Even Walter finding her drunk. Frodo is doing a good job. And let's not forget, Misty's not the only one feeling isolated. Shawn has been struggling with her guilt. Taissa is battling her sleepwalking alter ego. And Van is facing her own mortality. These women are all in pain. But they're facing it alone. Is this isolation a consequence of their trauma? Or is the town actively working to keep them apart? I mean, the darkness. And let's connect some dots, because this episode is dropping some major hints about how the past and present are intertwined. So we have that moment with Travis talking about hearing the trees screaming. Well, I feel that's not just a random moment, it's foreshadowing something bigger. We got this theme of sound throughout the episodes. We often think about trauma as a single explosive event, but Yellowjackets is showing us it's more like a slow, insidious scrapping. It's a dislocation from your sense of self, from your connection to other, from reality itself. And in season 3, episode 2, we see that playing out in real time. Take Shauna. Her go-to coping mechanism has always been aggression, a way to provide control over a world that's constantly affecting her. We saw that in the wilderness and we're seeing it now, amplified. Going into the past, spitting in Mary's soup, that journal entry is raw, but it's also a deflection. She's lashing out, trying to push away the guilt and the pain. Okay, so what we're seeing in these 2 episodes of season 3, besides the craziness and many theories that we all have, is just a mirror reflecting the many ways trauma and pain can manifest: denial, control, aggression, and detachment. These are all desperate attempts to deal with a reality that's too painful for them to face directly. They're listening to the wrong things, their internal fears, rather than the external reality, which they have closed their senses. It's the sound of their inner pain, drowning out everything else. We see it actually in the past and the present. Now, Lottie's return is something that we have to discuss. I feel this is not just about her struggle. I think it's about the legacy of the wilderness. It's about the question of whether a trauma can be escaped or whether it's destined to repeat itself, to find new hosts, new vessels. And Callie, standing out at that crossroad, becomes a terrifying symbol of that potential. Is she going to be consumed by the darkness, or can she find a different path? Now, the big question about this episode is who left the phone and cassette. And going from the way it's edited, I think it's Melissa. We know that there's gonna be a new character this season, so maybe. And going with how the episode 2 ends, I imagine that this is going to connect a lot of things. There's something also really important in this episode, like how Lottie has been pushing Travis towards action that he doesn't want. And it shows how Lottie pretty much broke Travis. Lottie's power is not just this unseen force, it's personal. It's in her ability to connect with people's vulnerabilities, to exploit their fears and desires. And nowhere do we see this more clearly than in her control with Travis. Thinking about that scene, he's clearly tormented. He's hearing things, seeing things, and by the end of the episode, all of them were hearing that sound of the trees. It's like they're real, like they're screaming for help. What we see with Lottie is that she preys on that, on him being vulnerable. She doesn't offer comfort in a healthy way. She offers validation of his fears, validation of the wilderness perception. Even saying, Travis, you're connecting with it. We have to keep going. She's not listening to his pain. She's weaponizing it. She's using his vulnerability to pull him deeper into her chaos, deeper into the wilderness beliefs. And remember, Travis is already broken, so Lottie is stepping into that void, offering him a sense of purpose, but it's all built on manipulation. She's making him listen to the wilderness, to her interpretation of it. But as we can see, the wilderness already shows. But manipulation is not the only form of darkness takes in Yellowjackets. There's a different kind of shadow that hangs over Taissa, a sense of fate, of something ominous always so close to her. Think about Taissa and Ben's dinner scene. On the surface, it's just a romantic moment, a chance to connect. But even in this normal moment, there's the undercurrent of unease. It's like a dark cloud is always hovering just above Taissa, ready to descend. Taissa running with Bam, and boom, a man collapsed. Heart attack, maybe. But in the context of Yellowjackets, in the context of Taissa's history, can we really dismiss as just a coincidence? It's not just this one event. Think about Ben's injury with the glass. Think about that moment when she goes to the funeral service for the guy. It's like darkness is around her. Is Taissa a curse? Is she a magnet for tragedy? Or is this dark cloud something she carries within herself, a consequence of her trauma, or maybe a part of her fractured psyche? Even before the wilderness, from she was little, she has always been around darkness, like the man with no eyes. Now, that's the first 2 episodes. I will go ahead and do a separate video on my theories and so on. But episode 3 is called Demps the Breaks, and the synopsis is the following. A hostile reunion ignites chaos among former among former teammates, while Lottie's behavior gives Callie unexpected insights into her mom's dark history. Meanwhile, Ty and Ben face consequences for their past actions. So I'm looking forward to episode 3. I'll discuss episode 3 episode tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. My next question from Beyond Premiere, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, one.